We're like...
We should like start that way.
Yeah.
just like we look left.
Hello.
Wait, do it at the same time.
My knee is like strategically placed here though, so if I do that, I'm like... Alright. In 3, 2... Hello, and welcome to a... Oh, he did turn around. Can we do that again? Hello, and welcome to a special edition of the Exit Only Theater podcast. I'm JP Lee, and this is...
I'm Adrian Alderette. Thank you for coming by.
Dramatic entrance. Like I said, this is a special edition. We're doing sort of a Women in Film in 2015. I know we're already well into 2016, but instead of looking ahead, we wanted to take a second to recognize that there have been a lot of really cool female characters in the last year of film, and it was worth doing sort of a special edition Cinema Cinco, since we haven't done one of those in quite some time. So
yeah.
I think we should first reference some of the honorable mentions. The fact that The Spy came out this year, which was actually, it outperformed what people expected it to be with Melissa McCarthy. The Hunger Games franchise ended along with Joy, so Jennifer Lawrence continues her run of badassery, even though she's sort of outstaying her welcome a little bit. Well, we could talk about that at a later time. Pitch Perfect 2 being directed by Elizabeth Banks, and the fact that it's an all-female cast, those two things lend itself to this list. Tomorrowland, I know we specifically wanted to reference it because the female character, the main character of that it was refreshing to see a girl be sort of a nerd and also the main character, and it was complex enough to merit being on this list.
And the one fixing the future.
Yes, and it was a love letter to NASA, but not as effective as the love letter to NASA from The Martian, but that's also another thing. Ant-Man, to a certain extent, even though Evangeline Lilly's character was a little bit more of a side plot, it was still important that she did well enough to merit being referenced in a stronger role later in the franchise, so that's cool. And Trainwreck, you can't finish a year of discussion without talking about what Amy Schumer did with that film, semi-autobiographical, and she killed it. So those are our honorable mentions. So you can imagine how strong the list of top 5 are.
Oh yeah.
Let's start with number 5, the character of Kate Macer, played by Emily Blunt in Sicario. I know we both loved this film. What did you love about that performance, and what do you think is the reason why it's on this list?
I like that they didn't go, and I remember leading into this film, we were like, what do you expect from Emily Blunt? And I'm like, well, the way they're making it look is that she's going to be kind of like a Sarah Connor kind of character who, and like we branded her as like the next Sigourney Weaver kind of like actress.
Yeah, badass action
and
character.
The thing that I really liked about her role in this one, and her character specifically, is that she's not really that at all. She's not that. She is a badass, but she's completely clueless as to what's going on.
Yeah, there's a vulnerability about her that I feel like female actors or actresses and feminine characters in general are afraid to do because it's labeled as weak.
Yeah.
But because her character is such a strong part of the film, her vulnerability plays to what's going on in the script and what's going on in the plot. So she does this very well, and there's moments where she's seeing unspeakable horror. Like in the first 20 minutes of the movie, she's seeing things that no one should see. And her expressions and what she's going through is our lens to figuring out what we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And her performance was really understated and really, really well done, and she balanced really well against Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to add to like the reason and and I think you hit it right on the head is that her character, when it comes to roles like this, it's like, oh, if a female character is going to be a soldier, she has to be a complete badass.
Right.
And it's like,
black
no.
or white. It's not fair.
It's like, it's nice to have a more fully developed, not to say that hasn't been done before, but it's nice to see just that kind of range put in a character. And I want to see more of that because things like that are interesting. That's how you develop interesting characters.
It's complex, heaven forbid.
Yeah.
I mean, her character in Edge of Tomorrow is a complete badass, and I appreciate that character. But going into this thinking that was what it was going to be, it was nice to see something more developed.
Yes.
So that's our number 5. Number 4 is Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson in Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I know at the time of the film's release you hadn't seen it. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Okay, so we're going to have a movie night on this. So we'll have to fix this situation because this film it went under the radar and no one's talked about it since it came out, but it did make a pretty good box office dent.
Amount.
Yeah, it really did. And the practical effects that Tom Cruise does in every Mission Impossible film is always the thing that kind of overshadows everything.
Scientology magic, man.
I mean, he's hanging off a building that's like 1,700 feet in the air. Like it's pretty incredible. He's hanging off planes. Like he's clearly not afraid of heights. But aside from all of those crazy moments in the film, Rebecca Ferguson's character saves his ass like 3 times in the movie, and it's great that in the script they incorporated a character that's not just sort of this, romantic foil or this, this damsel in distress like Spectre does repeatedly with some of its female characters.
Yes.
She was a badass, but she was also she was kind of, what's the word? She was very like mysterious in a certain way. Like I didn't really know what this character was, if she was good, if she was bad, if she was good again, if she was bad again. I didn't know what to believe.
Because I remember in the marketing going into it, it was like she didn't talk much. She had like this, like she was always hidden like with a gun, and I'm like, who is that?
The way she's introduced, the way that she saves him in all these different sequences, you still don't know why she's helping him. You don't know what her motives are, and it's just again, it speaks to the complexity of these characters now, and it was really refreshing. I know we'll jump to number 3, but you have to see that movie.
Yeah, I have to. And ever since that movie came out, her Rebecca Ferguson, coincidentally, any big name, whether it be comic book movie or action style movie, her name kept coming up.
Deservedly so.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce number 3? Because I know it's one of your personal favorites.
I would love to personally, one day in person, introduce
yourself to
my
her.
future wife. Alicia Vikander in the role of Ava in Ex-Machina.
Absolutely.
That was I would say right next to probably what's
Some of the
number
other
2.
ones, some of the other ones on our list.
I think that was one of my favorite characters, period, of the year, let alone female character. I loved everything about that movie. I was like on the fence about, but every time I went back to watch it, she was the one constant thing that I loved about the movie.
The fact that the film is only 3 people predominantly, and I know that there is a 4th character that becomes important later in the 3rd act, but the 3 major characters, she needs to carry the dynamic between the 3 of them without giving away major plot points. We really won't give a lot of spoilers, but just like the way that...
But not enough. I think we can spoil it.
Yeah, it's just the way that she's able to... And I don't even think it's manipulate. It's just the way that she's able to almost make us care for her as a human being, even though she's a robot, and the way that she plays off of all of these special effects that are on her. Like, there's so much going on in her physicality that it could distract you from what she's trying to do, and it doesn't. Like, she's very subtle and very, very deliberate with every move she makes, so it's disarming, and it's a little creepy at times, but you're also creepy. Like driven and drawn to her.
Yeah.
She's like pitch perfect in this film, and it's a shame she wasn't nominated for a supporting actress for this, because we've been stumping for that for months.
I look forward to Alicia Vikander and everything she does now.
Absolutely.
So I'm pumped.
Absolutely. Deservedly number 3. So that's our bronze award for most epically awesome female character in film in 2015.
Yes.
Number 2 is another one of our favorites, and it was a toss up between what is number 1. Maybe familiarity helped us bounce number 1 to where it was, but number 2 was Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road. Not enough can be said about how she was perceived to be a supporting character and ended up being like the point to that film.
Yeah.
And I think she carried it, and that's one of those characters that was deservedly badass. She needed to be in a sea of just epic dystopian terror. Like, she had to be that character.
She had to be that badass, but like what separated it from being just like a general, here's like this general kind of
like Lara
person.
Croft on steroids.
Exactly. Is that every time she was on screen when she had to make a decision, she looked like she was scared out of her mind.
Yeah.
She looked like she didn't know how it was going to come out. Like, she looked like she was almost like holding back tears almost, like saying, good God, I don't know what's going to happen.
It was almost like a quiet rage, but like she needed to move on to the next step. Yeah.
And I love the movie, and it's because of her. It's not because of Tom Hardy. It's because of her. Like, I remember in one of the episodes we did, I want to say earlier in the year, earlier last year, when we were pitching each other, like, hey, what would be like your dream story that you would want to develop? Mine was like this woman, or this young woman trying to lead a bunch of women when she doesn't necessarily feel she's in a position to do so. And watching this was very similar to what I wanted. So when I saw it, I was like, even though it's someone that's supposed to be up there in age, in Charlize Theron's character Furiosa, I loved it because it was that. It was like I loved that complexity of like, I have to save these girls, even though I'm not necessarily the one that should be doing it. Yeah.
She's like, I'm the only person that could do this, so I should do it. And I like that you spoke to like the vulnerability of her character, because it kind of goes unnoticed amongst all this stuff happening on camera. But there's one moment in the film where she gets injured, and you see her, I mean, the whole time she's this strong, stoic figure, but there's a moment when she says to Tom Hardy, she says, you're going to have to drive.
Yeah.
And the way she says it, I'm like, oh, she's dying. Like, I was like so nervous for her, and that was like the only moment she really had to be incredibly vulnerable, and it was like she peeled back every layer she could have of defense and was just like, you need to help me now. And that was like the first time she asked for help.
Yeah.
And it was just such a good moment. And after all the stuff that happened on screen, that was like the tiny nugget that I took away from that film. It was just, it was epic. It was awesome.
That movie's doing so well, and it may never be said during the Academy Awards. It's because of Charlize Theron.
Absolutely.
It's because of her.
Absolutely. Every nomination is deserved, but she should have gotten nominated.
Yeah.
So we're nominating her for ourselves in this little list of Cinema Cinco.
I love you.
Did you just do a Mockingjay thing?
I don't know what I was doing.
I thought you did a Mockingjay thing. I'm like, what are you? Okay, so our number one is
awkward. I'm sorry. No.
I'm just trying to transition as smoothly as possible. Our number one is I would assume would be a consensus favorite amongst a lot of our fans as well.
Oh yeah, it's still fresh in their minds.
It's very fresh, and it's, to me, is one of my favorite female characters to come out of cinema in the last 20 years. For me, it's Rey, played by Daisy Ridley in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Enough can't be said about how it's the first time I think I've seen a character that's equal parts badass, but that proves something within a plot point. Mm-hmm. It's not that she's just badass for the sake of being like awesome at stuff, but she's also equal parts goofball, which is kind of, it's odd to say it's daring to do in cinema, to make like a female character be a goofball, because most female characters are either sex appeal, they're maternal, or they're like driven to the point of being assholes. She's just she just enjoys the fact that she's picking things up quickly and that she's going on this adventure, and that's refreshing. That's something that I would feel if I was in that universe, just to be like, oh my god, I just flew the Millennium Falcon, like what? Like that reaction was just so genuine, and that's the character she is, and she's not just a role model, she's not just a female role model, she's just a role model that people will look to, and it's awesome. It's so cool, and I'm sorry that I just spoke over everything you probably would have said.
No, you hit it out right in the head, and I think it's fitting that we had Rey and Furiosa right back to back with each other, because if you look at it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, age range for both characters, it's awesome that women have an opportunity to have someone to say, that's like, we have somebody for everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
And it's not one of those things where like, oh, here, women, you have your idols now. It's like, no,
don't
it's just
pander.
like if I were cosplaying at Comic-Con, I would want to go as Furiosa. I don't want to be Mad Max. I would go as Furiosa.
It's the same way that like when I was a kid, I loved Indiana Jones. I didn't tell myself, oh, I guess I can't go as Indiana Jones this year for Halloween because he's a dude. Like, no, I mean, I'm wearing a leather jacket now. Like, I love Indiana Jones. So I just like the idea that, like you said, there are characters now that men and women can look up to, and it's not perceived as a gender-based decision. Yeah. So and raise the forefront on that one. So I think it's worth mentioning. The sort of dishonorable mention of the year is the Claire character from Jurassic World, because
freaking Colin Trevorrow, man.
Amid all these awesome performances and all of these complex developed characters, we've got a Bryce Dallas Howard character who is incredibly one-dimensional, and she's this perceived business lady, and that's supposed to make her this 21st century, like, awesome role model, and she's so interesting and complex. It's not. It speaks back to that whole women fit into three categories in a lot of movies, and she gets pigeonholed into the, power-hungry asshole role, and the only other option she has is turn to love and be a love, interest, a sex appeal to a sexual object to Chris Pratt's character, or have babies and be a mother like her sister wants her to do. It's like those archetypes have been covered before, and it was just, I can't defend that movie anymore based off of all these awesome characters that came out before and after it. Yeah. So.
And like when we talk about Jurassic World, when we first saw it, we're like, oh, that was a lot of fun. That was a great cinematic experience at the theater. And like there was always a but after we said that.
But we never quite articulated it.
Yeah, and then now that's only out on DVD, and people who haven't seen it are like, oh, should I watch that? I'm just like, if you don't have a big screen TV and you don't give a crap about anything,
just go watch Jurassic Park. Just go watch Jurassic Park. Don't even worry about World, honestly. Because Ellie Sattler's character is 10 times more dynamic than Claire, and she's not even a major part of the film. She's part of an ensemble, and 25 years ago they did it better then. So that's just kind of our rant on what didn't work last year for women in film, but It was an epic year. I feel like it's only going to get better from there, especially
hope
with
so. And
actresses that are emerging.
there was a tweet someone put out that like for the ones like the awards nominated for Oscars, like for like comparing like what the basic character was for each one, they listed like men like screenwriter, innovator, inventor, and then like for women it was like helpless girl, helpless this, or blah blah blah. And I'm like, these films are pushing to get that. It's too bad that none of these were recognized by the Academy.
It's ironic, really.
And the way I see it now is just I just hope we keep getting stuff. Like I know like we were talking earlier, Jonathan actually brought up Ghostbusters. It's all female cast.
Yeah, and that's it's getting backlash just for that reason alone.
Yeah.
Which puts the stakes higher, and I like it. Like if we're gonna have women at the forefront of movies, they should be open to the criticism. So it's exciting to be on the same page.
Yeah.
And
as storytelling fans, whether it's movies, like music and anything, I want to see a good story with interesting characters. I don't care the sex, but if it's a female, it's refreshing. I want to see that.
That's the thing. It's just a change of pace, and until it's the standard 50-50 split that we all kind of expect, it's gonna feel like a novelty for a little while. Yeah. But it's still awesome to talk about because it's still so new.
Would you say that Star Wars: The Force Awakens is your favorite film that had a female as technically the lead?
Ooh, off the top of my head, it's the most fun. Like, it's yes. You know what? I will go on record and say yes, absolutely.
Okay. I think for me, it's Mad Max. Like
it's Mad Max.
Think everything about it, like Furiosa for me, like I worship everything she does. She's awesome.
I don't think either of us would be wrong to argue in either favor. I mean, there's one of the movies I saw 4 times, so I'll lean on the one that I spent the most money on. But yeah, no, it's a great discussion. It's worthwhile, and it's going to be exciting to see what 2016 has in store. And
Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn. Hey.
I mean that alone. But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it again for you guys sticking with us, and I think we're getting a little bit of a rhythm.
We're getting the gears are starting to turn a little bit more.
Absolutely. So we appreciate you guys, checking us out. So
I'll bring a cooler jacket next time.
Yeah, we'll stop putting the AC on like 37 degrees in here. It's freezing.
Unless you guys like,
our winter apparel. I couldn't move my arms because of the microphone. I didn't want to make too much sound, but
it is cold down here. I'm glad this is covering everything underneath. Yes.
Absolutely. Do I have the Ray thing? Oh, thank you, Jonathan Fisher, who's just in an auxiliary role today.
Yeah.
Helped me
he's
point
not even
this
here,
out.
but we heard him.
Yeah, I'm like, what is that sound? So we'll just leave it on this, and for you to enjoy. This is a collector's item. This will not be leaving the box. Even when I have kids, they're not touching it. I'm JP Lee for Exit Only Theater. This is.
I'm Adrian Alderette.
And we'll see you when the credits roll.
See you guys.